So just when I thought my twin pregnancy couldn't get more eventful, I lost use of the left side of my face. So I have Bell's palsy. If you've watched my Fendachi haul, you'll notice that this side of my face is kind of moving differently to this side of my face. And I even pinned a comment where I said that I've had an allergic reaction to something, which is what I thought had happened. But it turns out that that isn't what happened. And in fact, I have Bell's palsy. So I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy at about 37 weeks pregnant. What happened initially is that I was in the shower and I was washing my face and I was using my husband's face wash. So I felt it going to my eye and I kind of like squinted my eyes together and like tried to get it out of my eye because it was stinging. Later on that day, I was doing a bit of filming and I noticed that my eye wasn't moving the same as this eye. And I messaged some of my family and I was like, oh, look at what's happening to my face, like what's going on. I explained to them what had happened, that I was in the shower and something went in my eye and I think I've had an allergic reaction. So I was like, okay, cool, like I'll just wait a couple of days and the allergic reactions should settle down. But then I also noticed that my mouth was kind of leaning to the side as well. And I kind of thought, that doesn't really seem right, because my thoughts were maybe I had an allergic reaction and it had just affected my eye. I had a midwife appointment scheduled for the next day. So I spoke to my husband and he was just like, you know, let's just wait until we get to the midwife. She can advise. So we went to our midwifery appointment and whilst we were there, I said to her, like, I've noticed that my eye is not moving the same as this eye and I think I've had an allergic reaction to something. And she was a bit like, have you been to A&E? And I was like, no, I haven't been to A&E. She's like, oh, maybe you should go. The hospital that we were in has an urgent care centre. So I was like, well, maybe could we just go to the urgent care centre, because A&E, I don't know where you guys are watching from, but A&E in London in particular is always so busy. Like when you go in there, you know you're going to be waiting at least 4 hours to see a doctor. So I was like, maybe we could just go to urgent care and maybe they could see me in urgent care instead of having to go to A&E. So we went downstairs and we waited for about 2 hours before I saw someone, and I explained to them that I thought I had an allergic reaction to something. I had just seen the midwife upstairs who said that it was a good idea to come downstairs and speak to somebody. And so the lady was like, oh, like, I think you might have Bell's palsy. And I was like, okay, like, fine. Not fine, but, you know, okay. Because I saw a nurse first. And then she said she's going to go and speak to the doctor and call the doctor in straight away, because I told her like I'm 37 weeks pregnant with twins and just of midwife, blah, blah, blah. So I think she wanted to see me to see somebody quite quickly. So she called the doctor in. I forgot to mention, but the night before we saw the midwife, I had Googled my symptoms. Don't Google your symptoms, but I had Googled my symptoms and I'd come across Bell's palsy. And I went into the front room and I sat next to my husband and I was like, I think I might have Bell's palsy. And he was like, he kind of chuckled and he was like, no, I don't think you've got that. Where did you find that out? And I was like, oh, I've been online, I've been looking. He's like, that's a really bad idea. Don't go online and look for your symptoms. Like, let's just wait for the midwife tomorrow. And I was like, okay, but if I have it, like, these are the symptoms, and I pretty much fall into all of the categories of the symptoms. I'll put some of the symptoms up here. My face is leaning and I think that I fit into this category of Bell's palsy. So he said to wait. So the nurse calls in the doctor and the doctor is like doing some tests with me. She's like, can you close your eyes? Like, close your eyes. Can I raise my shoulders? And she did a couple of tests with me. And then she was like, oh, you're really calm for somebody who has these symptoms. Like, normally people come in thinking that they have a stroke. I remember the night before when I checked for the symptoms of Bell's palsy, stroke did come up. And although the left side of my face is not really cooperating, my arms were fine. Like, I didn't feel any tension in my arms or any restriction in the movement of my arms. And I didn't feel any chest pain or anything like that. So I was pretty confident that I wasn't having a stroke. I'm not sure if that was well-informed confidence, but I was pretty certain that I wasn't having a stroke. I do work in a hospital, so I guess I felt as though I knew enough to know that I wasn't having a stroke. So she was like, yeah, like, you're really calm. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm calm. If you guys have watched my last twin pregnancy update, it was about like managing my stress. When I noticed that my face was reacting funny, you'll see in my Fendachi video that I kept going. Like, I filmed the video. I called my family and I was like, oh, can I actually put this up? And they were like, yeah, just put it up, it's fine. I was convinced it was an allergy. I thought I'd get past it pregnant with twins, I thought, you know what, I'm just not going to stress myself out about it. And my face at that time was like the least of my problems. I was just like, you know, I'm sure it will just go back to normal after a few days. And so she called, she did all the tests, and then she was like, I need to call like the specialist to ask them for their advice. So she called and she was like, these are the symptoms, she's pregnant with twins, what should I do? And at that point she said that the usual treatment for Bell's palsy was steroids, but because I was carrying twins, she wasn't sure if that was appropriate for me or not. And so she called them and she was like, oh, unfortunately you're gonna have to go to A&E. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I really don't want to go to A&E, but of course we have to go, she's sending us there. So she was like, wait outside, I'll finish off your notes and then you're gonna have to go there. Now I thought that A&E, like I just said, I'd be in there 4 hours. I thought 4 hours, maybe 6 hours max, I thought I'd be there. We start making our way to A&E. At this point, we've been at the hospital where the urgent care is for like a good 4 hours, including my appointment that I had with the midwife. So my husband was like, I need to go home. So I was like, cool, just drop me off at the A&E and I'll just go in and come out. When I'm out, I'll call you. So I get to the A&E and they were like, you're not allowed anyone with you. You can only go in by yourself. And it was really, really busy. I think that there was like at least 150 people in there, and it was quite a small A&E. So they made an announcement that the average waiting time to see a nurse was 5 hours and the average waiting time to see a doctor was 9. When I left the urgent care, the doctor was like, kind of egg it on if you can that you're pregnant with twins and that you're nearing your due date and hopefully they'll see you sooner. So that's what I did. I got there, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm pregnant with twins. The guy was like, excuse me? I'm like, yeah, I've got 2 babies and I'm 37 weeks pregnant and my face, the left side of my face is not moving properly. I was a bit nervous because it was so packed that people weren't really social distancing and it didn't feel like the aircon was working and it was really hot and my battery was going dead. I messaged everyone and I was like, I'm in A&E, I'm gonna put my phone on flight mode. 3 hours later, I'm still waiting. I go in, I see the nurse and he's like doing the same test that the doctor did at the urgent care. So he's like, can you close both of your eyes? Can you smile? Like, can you move your arms? All of that kind of stuff. And he's like, okay, let me go and see if I can find a doctor. So at that point I thought, oh yeah, like maybe he'll go and find a doctor and come back really quickly with the doctor and I can go. So he left and he came back, he's like, oh, I can't find anybody that's free, so you're gonna have to go back outside and wait. So I go back outside and wait. 2 hours after that, I get called in to get my bloods taken. So the lady takes my blood, she's like, oh, how are you? Like, oh, congratulations, you're pregnant. I'm like, yeah, it's 2. She's like, oh, how far along are you? I'm like 37 weeks pregnant. She's like, oh, okay. So I don't really feel comfortable with letting you go back outside. So I'm gonna put you on a bed in here. So she finds me a bed and I'm waiting on the bed and I'm like, oh yeah, like of course I'm on a bed now. So that means I'll be seen soon. 5 hours later, nobody had come to see me. And I could hear like mentions of Bell's palsy like outside of my curtain. So I feel as though they were kind of like talking about me. Unless there was somebody else there with Bell's palsy. They were waiting for somebody to be available to see me. So I was super uncomfortable in that bed, of course, because I'm like heavily pregnant. I was just really uncomfortable. I'd been there for a really long time. My ankles started swelling. It was just really, really long. So altogether, I was in A&E for 11 hours. I got there at like 3 in the afternoon, 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I didn't leave until 3 a.m. So eventually when the doctor came, did the test again. And then he was like, yeah, I think you've got Bell's palsy and the treatment for it is antibiotics that you have to take over 10 days. I cannot remember what it's called. I've finished my course of antibiotics now, so I'm not sure if I even still have the pack. But if I do, I'll put the name of the steroid, not antibiotics, the steroid treatment that he put me on. And he said basically I had to take 25 tablets a day. It was a lot of tablets. So he was like, oh, we don't have enough here, so can you come back tomorrow, as in today? Because at that point, it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. So I went back for the rest of the course. And at this point, I've taken all of my steroids and my face has improved slightly. Well, you guys can see that my eyes don't really blink at the same time. That has improved. This eye does water. From what I understand, in some cases of Bell's palsy, you cannot close your left eye at all. So I do feel pretty grateful that I can actually close my eyes, or it feels like I'm closing my eyes, but you'll see that they kind of don't close in the same way. And my pout, when I saw the nurse in A&E, he was like, oh, can you pout for me? And as soon as I did it, he burst out laughing. But yeah, this is my pout. So you can see that it leans a bit to the side. And when I smile, my smile, I think is almost back. So it is pretty symmetrical now, but there is a bit of a lean here. I've been looking online and I couldn't really find many people who had spoken about Bell's palsy. I looked on Instagram and I found a few people who spoke about their experiences with Bell's palsy. Quite a few of those people were pregnant. So one of the risk factors for Bell's palsy is being pregnant and being in your third trimester. I'll put in what I read about that here. When you're pregnant, you're at high risk, and from what I've read, it's a viral infection and they are not certain about how it's caused. Now, I've been watching some of my videos back and I've noticed in some of my updates, my more recent updates, I have mentioned feeling under the weather. And the doctor at the hospital did ask me, like, have you had a cold or anything recently? And I said no, but when I watched the videos, I noticed that I did mention that I was feeling a bit unwell. So I think that it happened as a consequence of that time feeling unwell. What I have found about it is that there are some times where your face does not fully recover. And when I spoke to the doctor, he did say that it would take about 2 months, or it could take up to 2 months for my face to go back to how it was before. But I do know that there are some people whose faces don't improve. Mine has improved some, and I think that this is about week 2 since I've been diagnosed. Of course, I am distracted with my pregnancy and babies and all of this kind of stuff, so it still hasn't been something that's been really at the forefront of my mind. Of course, I really want my face back. If I can have it back, I'd be grateful. But I have been trying my best to manage my stress. And this is another thing that I cannot control. I know that there are some exercises that you can do, and the doctor at the hospital did say to get in contact with my GP, which I still need to do for some follow-ups. It would be interesting to know how I got it. Apparently it's not contagious. The joys of being pregnant, it's something that can happen. So at the moment, it's just a waiting game. I thought that I would make this video to help anybody out there who has been diagnosed with Bell's palsy like I was and who couldn't really find much about it. Apparently it's pretty rare. So if you are pregnant with twins or pregnant in your third trimester, do try not to worry too much. I just have clearly really bad luck. That has been my experience of Bell's palsy so far. I know some of the other symptoms, which I'll add in as well, I'll show you guys, include like drooling and stuff. And the doctor did mention wearing an eye patch if my eye wouldn't close, especially at night. And I did consider wearing an eye patch. This eye does water quite a lot, so my left side of my tongue, not so much now, but in the beginning was pretty numb, so I couldn't really feel much, and you can kind of tell that my speech is still kind of affected by it. The feeling in this side of my face is definitely coming back. I have been getting eye twitches, which apparently is a sign of like the nervous system in your face trying to kind of get back to normal. Other than those symptoms and it looking pretty unsightly, I haven't really had anything else. I know some people get headaches because the eye won't close. I haven't really experienced that, so I'm not 100% sure, but I would say that from what I can tell and what research I've done, I think my symptoms or my Bell's palsy is pretty mild. And apparently if you catch it within 72 hours of your symptoms, if you get on steroids 72 hours after your symptoms, you've got more of a chance of recovery. So if you are pregnant or you do start to experience some of the symptoms that I've explained or that you've seen, do contact your healthcare provider or go to A&E as soon as you can, because if you can get onto steroids, then that will help your recovery. So I don't know if that's helped me as well. So I have been going back and forth about whether I should still continue to make videos or if I should just wait and see if my face recovers, and I've decided I'm going to keep going. A droopy face does not stop any show. So I'm going to keep going. So I just wanted to make this video just so that you guys can know what's going on. I'm not looking at you funny. It's just Bell's palsy, and I do have my fingers crossed that things will get better with my face, but we will see. And if things don't get better, maybe I'll do an update. I'll see if you guys find this video interesting. If you want an update, you can let me know. If you've got any specific questions, then do feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'm doing my best to take this one on the chin and not let it ruin anything. So I do feel I don't, you know, I would prefer not to have it, but I'm not super down about it or anything like that. I'm kind of just like, life. So yeah, hopefully it goes away. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.